Hi everyone, and hope everyone's doing great as usual. So thank you for watching again, and subscribe if you haven't. Like the video. Let me know any thoughts or comments or ideas or experiences or suggestions. Much appreciated. Thank you. So I wanted to do a quick video on communicating with aliens. Crazy as it sounds, and it may not to some people. I don't know, but to me, it's amazing. So it is possible, but more importantly, I want to explain how this is done because I always try to seek to understand something, and then that way you can try to experience it or study it properly. Now, there's something out there called CE5. Dr. Stephen Greer, he's been in the UFO community in very secret parts of the government, and world leaders in all levels of government and military, especially the U.S., have been involved with alien species and downing aircrafts and studying them. We've brought some down. We've found some. We're also in communication with aliens. But he's created this protocol called CE5 where you can actually contact them. And sometimes they have fancy lights and equipment and things like that and cameras, but really you don't need anything. It is completely free, and I saw some of his videos about it, and he brings you into these meditations, and he makes it fairly simple to understand. I think you have to pay for basically the program, but I'll explain to you. It's really easy, but I want to break it down into real simple terms, and because I haven't seen that done yet, and I had to do that for myself to understand it. Just because, he uses some advanced terms sometimes. So, but when you understand the basics, then it will make more sense because I've watched his videos over and over. Now, telepathy is simply communicating without using any physical equipment, like I'm doing right now, for example, transmitting communication, controlling things, using your mind's involved, of course, the mental aspects as far as what, non-physical aspects, what to think and how to say it and everything like that. But this is physical communication. Telepathy is just using your thoughts to communicate, which is non-physical versus physical. Simple as that. Now, as amazing as this sounds, I always like to use the example, I can hear my own thoughts and we see our own dreams. For example, this is non-physical energy. So other people have the same experience. So if you have this individually, why don't you hear other people thinking or that sort of thing? Many people do. It's something I'm learning how to do. It's a skill some people learn, or like many things, it's something that some people are born with, and you're just more tuned into the non-physical energy. For whatever reason. Now, remember, we are physical and non-physical beings. So just like with ourselves, we can create, like a computer, for example, if we get the knowledge like we have to analyze and experience things like non-physical energy, memories, emotions, dream state, thoughts, and things like that, just like we have, we can create AI, in other words. Another version of a being with conscious awareness that is both physical and non-physical. So in other words, computers can be created, and we're doing that now, of course, that can literally harness and practice and become telepathic tools or machines, highly accurate and on all the time, in other words. So rather than, like me, it's taken years to try and practice this and barely get better at it, little by little, getting better at it. Whereas if, like with anything, if we could have a machine do it, it's simply much more streamlined, quicker, efficient, and faster, like with any technology. So these civilizations out there have this sort of technology. So there's planets out there with very advanced space travel and medicine, the ability to live for a really long time, and they have artificial intelligence. We're just scratching the surface again. These civilizations are thousands and thousands and thousands of years ahead of us. So what all it is, so if you watch some of the videos, like with the CE5, for example, Dr. Greer says put yourself in like a calm state, for example, and think peaceful thoughts and speak out loud and say things like, we're here to say hello, we come in peace. And it's a great approach, because then in order for them to hear you, it's like tuning into a radio. It's not like they're just listening to all our thoughts. There's an ocean of non-physical energy down here on Earth at all times, and it's really not of their interest to be listening to that. But it's just like a signal. For example, like out of all the non-physical noise that's occurring here on Earth, if they hear key words, they'll know that a message is being sent to them. If you do this over and over, or in a group setting, and make your intent clear and known, and they use like flashlights to point in the sky and say, this is us, or telepathically communicating, in order to differentiate it from private thoughts, for example, or someone who's dreaming or anything else. So all you have to do is think these things, plain and simple. And he says do it in a calm and state of love and peace and joy. That's not necessary. I'm smiling because it's not, but it's a good way to put yourself in a state for any reason, just to be calm and in a good mood. You can literally, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because sometimes when I first started out, I wasn't sure if anybody in the spiritual realms could hear me. So I would picture my voice. I wouldn't just think thoughts or anything like that. I would picture like there's another version of me, standing in front of me. I would like imagine that. And then I would have him shout as loud as he can. I'm sorry, it's really funny, but and I do this sometimes just for fun, or to make sure people can hear me for whatever reason, but because I'm thinking these are thoughts in my head, or communication, because they can hear it as soft and gentle as your telepathic communication is with like people in the afterlife or angels, for example. I always had this doubt, like, can they hear me? Because my thoughts are very quiet, not silent, but how we think. So I would picture myself yelling, like another picture, and sometimes I'd make it like 100 feet tall, and it would be yelling as loud as it can, and it would be yelling into outer space. And it's the same mechanics at work, like physical and non-physical energy. So I'm just using a little bit of visual and really loud audible energy. And I used to be like, hey, like as loud as I can, like, you guys there? Like, is there any angels around? Okay, so I wanted to make sure I'd be heard, because I was like, what if I'm in my apartment and it's in my head? Like, when I first tried to start contacting like higher beings, how do I know they hear me? Like, how do I know, because my thoughts are so quiet, can they differentiate between thoughts and, things like that? This is my private apartment. How do, are they just like following me around all the time? Or like, do I have to yell? So I yelled. So I made myself like as big as possible and just yelled into outer space, and like through, everywhere I could see, basically. And they heard me. So now what's funny about this is, so there's no right way to do it. You can actually do this to communicate. Your message has to be clear and polite, and the intent has to be polite as well. So sometimes, and you can use this for communication with the afterlife and beings that exist in strictly the non-physical realms, but also with physical beings and civilizations who have the technology to be able to pick up on these telepathic frequencies. So that's how it's done. And one thought that crossed my mind was, is this safe? I don't want, anybody negative tuning in, or anything like that, or I don't want any negative responses. Now, I've asked this question a ton of times and keep getting the same answer. So it is safe. The communication, first of all, with the afterlife is very tightly controlled. Anything that's perceived as negative or anything like that is just extra energy or residual energy, or things that are created from our own database or surrounding energy. It's all very fluid, and it's all part of this connected ocean of energy, So it's like throwing a rock in the pond and things ripple, so like if you're fearful of communicating, things that you identify with fear within you could kind of emanate outwards, and you start to see it and hear it, and they'll interfere with your communication, or it could come from someone sitting next to you, or even a picture. So there's so much energy around us, and so anything that's negatively perceived is not coming from the spiritual realms. Highly controlled and always positive and peaceful and careful, these communications, when you and you could work up like with any friendship and have casual joking and laughter, but they're very careful about who and what gets through. So any dark or perceived energy comes from within or around us, and it could be created unknowingly and accidentally, but you'll never be directly contacting anything negative out there. So I found that a bit ironic. So what we're actually perceiving comes from us, or how our emotions tie to concepts of fear or darkness if we're not in a good place when we start to try to channel. Maybe another reason why Dr. Greer says to be in a positive place. So it's not required, but it can kind of keep the energetic airwaves more clean, if you will. Now, same thing I've been asking a lot recently is, well, okay, fine, that makes sense with the spiritual realms, but what about aliens? I just posted a video about this too, but there are evolved civilizations kind of looking over Earth and our area of the galaxy and solar system. They have non-interference protocols, but at the same time, it's within their purview to protect us, and this includes monitoring any telepathic communication. So any communication with them, it's done from a very high order of more like morality. For example, like with the spiritual realms, of course, these are physical beings though with technology. So I had my doubts and reservations, and I asked the question a million times. They said, well, yes, this sort of thing, you can be sure that any communication is, at least here, thank goodness, Earth in this area is closely monitored. So no bad civilizations or people can use this technology. It's monitored to interfere or lie to you or find out where you live, that sort of thing. So so it's safe to try to communicate with them. So any messages they do receive, they'll respond in kind. And that's why, we haven't been invaded yet. And people have been trying to use telepathy for centuries, actually, to contact them far before we had technology. So this method of communication is safe. They haven't, colonized or enslaved us or anything like that. They keep their distance, and their communication, whether from a distance or up close, is done carefully. I'm not saying it's perfect, like on Earth, there's, good and bad elements out there, but overall it's watched over from a good collection or collective of beings, which is good, but that doesn't mean they're all good out there. So, you can always try this at your own discretion, of course. I haven't had any luck shouting at the aliens yet, and I've began to talk to them just recently more and more once I realized these are the same sorts of abilities that you use when practicing psychic gifts, for example. Now, some people in videos I've seen with like the CE5 trying to reach aliens, so they'll send these messages and just wait hours or days and don't get anything. And sometimes they do, and there's people on YouTube that post videos of spaceships that fly by or flash their lights. It's really cool, just to say hello. Because they picked up on the message. So, and just to let them know, yeah, we hear you, how's it going? Now, sending the message and just sitting around for hours is one way to do it. But I encourage, up to you, of course, but that's only half of the communication. Just like with spiritual beings and afterlife and talking with the dead and things like that, or any form of two-way communication, speaking is just half of it, listening is the other. So, I've tried a few times and I've asked, hey, can I talk to the aliens, or, can you ask my spiritual guides, are there any spaceships around that can fly by for me if I go stand outside for a while? And they're like, well, no, not now, unfortunately. So I'm still testing this theory and experience, and I've gone out a few times just to make sure, and nothing showed up yet. But I'll keep trying until I hear a positive response and like, you know what, tonight might be a good night if you go stand out there. We can fly. I'll try capture it on my phone. So anyways, and I'll definitely share that too if that does happen. It's kind of exciting. So that could be why if you're out there trying, you don't see anything for a while, because they could be trying to respond to you, saying, "Sorry, we hear you, but we're nowhere near Earth right now. We can't send any spaceships by, or flash our lights at you, or anything like that." So, learning to receive these messages is useful too, because you can save time, and not only that, but it opens up channels to the spiritual realms, which I think is exciting. So, well, there you have it. And I just wanted to explain how that works. And hopefully it was helpful. And if you have any questions, please let me know, or have any insight or thoughts, of course, and much appreciated. So you guys take care as always, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.